with so many individuals who are so committed to bringing forth the greatest expression of this center, so that we continue to be that magnificence that I know that we are designed and desired to be, and that we will continue to grow and expand in ways that we have not yet even imagined. For Spirit will have its way. Spirit will manifest and demonstrate in the life of each and every one of you, whether you know that or not. It is going to happen. There is only one life, and this life is the life of God, and it is being expressed through you, as you, and is you. It is urging itself through you. It is moving upon the very essence and the cells and the molecular structure of who you are in order to become that greater expression and experience of life. If you could only just begin to imagine that, if you could only begin to just see that, if you could only begin to believe that that is who you are, that your very natural self is spiritual, eternal, and immortal, then all of the pain and the suffering and the discomfort and the disease that may be going on and showing up in your life or in the life around you or in the affairs of your life would simply disappear and dissipate back into the nothing from which it came, because there is no power in that. The only power that is available is a power for good, residing within you, as you, and is you. It has brought itself forth into this expression, and you could not stop it. It was going to have its way. Spirit knows only good, and it knows only life. And the only thing that gets in the way of that is your small-minded thinking that you are something less than whole, perfect, and complete. I was reading a story about a gentleman in the early 40s or maybe in the late 30s who was actually doing some ministry, some teaching, some experience in China. And he was bringing forth some, the message, and he needed some repair work on their lectern. They had an eagle with its wings spread, and it needed some repair. And so he called in one of the woodworkers from the village or the community that they were there, and they did the work. And the community, the congregation, saw this eagle as a symbol. See, it was their perception. They saw this eagle with its wings spread as the inspiration for what they were learning. This idea that they could touch the sky, that they could fly higher than anyone had ever imagined, that they could vision the entire world in which they were a part of, that they could get a bigger picture, that they could see a bigger perspective. The woodworker did not have that same experience. And so when he sent the bill to the teacher, the minister, on the bill it said, because he needed to invoice it, it said, $5 for repairing the piece of the holy chicken. Because in his perception, in this small village and in the community in which he lived, he was thinking survival. He was thinking of what was his reality. So the explanation is that we all have a different perception of how we look at the world. Earlier, I said that the world is not as it appears. That there is something going on here that begins to show up, that begins to have some kind of manifestation or demonstration that comes out of oftentimes what we call the race thought, the collective thought of all of humankind in all time. And so we have been evolving through this process of consciousness that sometimes the world is not a friendly place, that the world could be really dangerous. And if you were walking the earth at the time in which the dinosaurs were running around, it probably was pretty dangerous. Or if you lived in a community where there was a lot of wild animals roaming and seeking out their dinner, you might have appeared to be that holy chicken that was on their menu. And it could be pretty dangerous, and you might have lived in some fear. But the reality, the truth is that as human beings, we have been created in the likeness of the divine. In that sense, that what is that likeness? It's a intelligence. It's an infinite intelligence. And all of the traditions and all of the teachings begin to talk about this as a way that there's a power that's available to us in the mind, a mental realm and spiritual realm in which we live. And so what happens is that the followers of many of the great masters and teachers 100 years down the road began to take the words and the teachings that were passed down, and they're trying to make some logical reasoning way for it. And so they've recreated it in a way that begins to look like what the world looks like. So all of a sudden, somebody has created this entity of God that is this elderly gentleman, you know, with the white hair and the long beard sitting on a throne. And so now we have generations of people who are walking around on this planet Earth who are quite confused because they're looking at a physical being that they think is God, and they've lost touch with the mental spiritual realm that is the true essence. So we have to get back to the point of truth that says that it's all in the mind, it's all in the consciousness. And we are evolving as conscious individuals, more so than we are evolving as physical beings. In fact, the science is beginning to look at the evolution of the human being, and they're beginning to think, you know, we as a physical body, we haven't evolved much. But in our mind, in our consciousness, we're evolving in a tremendous and extraordinary way. And so when we look out, and I begin to, you know, use this phrase that the world is coming to an end as we know it, I'm not talking about the physical world. I'm talking about the mental, the conscious world. We have reached a level and a place by which we're beginning to recognize that we are the co-creators of our experience. That we are now becoming responsible and accountable for the life that we're living. Now, some of us get really scared about that because we don't want to make the commitment to be responsible. We don't want to have to show up and take responsibility for what's going on in our life. But if you're willing to go there, if you're willing to make that step, if you're willing to move out in a bold way and declare the truth of who you are, absolutely, you can transform, you can heal, you can improve, you can change any condition that is going on in your life, and you can have that greater experience. Because the reality as